Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Warriors $35 million star get concerning intel from NBA agent, rival exec. A prominent NBA agent and a rival executive's intel about the upcoming NBA free agency bodes well for the Golden State Warriors' chances of re-signing Jonathan Kuminga to a team-friendly deal. Kuminga will enter restricted free agency this summer. As it currently stands, only the Brooklyn Nets loom as the Warriors' biggest threat. The Nets are projected to have the most cap room, between $45 million and $60 million, and the ability to throw a large offer sheet to Kuminga. However, the rival NBA executive told ESPN's Brian Windhorst that the Nets have indicated they are going to use their cap room most likely on trades. They've sent the message that if they do anything major with their space, it's likely going to be through trade, not signings, the rival executive told Windhorst. Even if that trade doesn't happen this summer, they'll want to keep their options open. With the Nets cautious in throwing large offer sheets, the Kuminga and other restricted free agents have limited leverage, according to Windhorst, which an NBA agent said it's more dire than that. Actually, it's no leverage, the prominent agent told Windhorst. I prepared my clients for a free agent recession this summer. Next year will be different, the cap will be going up and teams will clean up their books as they deal with the new spending rules. So you may have to wait and try again. Kuminga's camp was aiming for a $35 million annual average salary, The Athletic reported in the fall, but the Warriors were only willing to go $30 million. The rising star might have to settle with less based on the prominent NBA agent and rival executive's intel. Bleacher Report's salary cap expert Eric Pincus predicts Kuminga, who will become a restricted free agent after this season, to leave the Warriors to sign with the Brooklyn Nets. Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors were far apart in extension talks this past fall. The Nets could gamble that a solid offer is enough to pry the forward loose for less than he wants but more than Golden State will pay. They could give him a 4-year, $105.5 million offer sheet starting at $28.5 million, if it descends. Stephen Curry leaves to Omazisalo, Ja Morant's Grizzlies shook up with sight to behold. Omazisalo's tenure leading a Ja Morant-led Memphis Grizzlies squad experiencing a mid-season crisis has gotten off to a rocky 0-3 start against an historically difficult schedule. The Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics got first dibs at the Finnish coach. Then Stephen Curry's Golden State Warriors, 44-31, handed Isalo's Grizzlies, 44-32, a third straight loss since Taylor Jenkins was let go in late March. The 134-125 defeat in the FedEx Forum underscored the steep learning curve the 42-year-old faces in the NBA, with Curry's relentless brilliance proving too much for his retooled defensive schemes. There are no magic tricks, Isalo quipped. It's just coming up with a better defensive game plan. Something with more clarity, because the clarity always comes before the intensity. You need to know what you are going to do, so that you can do it hard. That is where it starts from. It starts with me, our staff, and then the players. We have to be ready when the game starts and do the simple things well. Curry, widely regarded as the greatest shooter in NBA history, torched the Grizzlies for 52 points, including 12 three-pointers, in a performance Isalo called a sight to behold. Despite a specific first-quarter strategy to limit Curry's long-range opportunities, the Warriors star found ways to break free. Ja Morant, 36 points, Desmond Bane, 19 points, and Jaren Jackson Jr., 22 points, just could not keep up. Still, Omazisalo has been encouraged by how the locker room has responded to a coaching change while taking more than a few shots to the chin over the last 10 games, 2-8. I know our guys were giving everything they had, stressed Isalo. For example, you look in the second half, and there are no longer scripted situations where you can put two guys on, Curry. He is so good at getting rid of the ball and relocating. You cannot relax for even half a second because he will find some space and then use that space in order to get his shot off. It's a sight to behold, how he operates. He is nonstop and constant and hunting for those opportunities. The Grizzlies, who had successfully contained Curry, 15 total points in 2 games, earlier in the season under Jenkins, struggled to adapt as the 36-year-old guard exploited every sliver of space. For example, in the first quarter against the Warriors, we had a specific strategy that we did not want Curry to get those 3-point shots. Kevin Durant trade rumors. Suns found 5 teams with mutual interest in former MVP at deadline, but no deal. Kevin Durant was blindsided when the Phoenix Suns attempted to trade him to the Golden State Warriors at the deadline. He ultimately made it clear that he was not interested in returning to the team with whom he won 2 championships, and all of the reporting since then has suggested that Durant and the Suns are expected to work together to find a possible trade this offseason now that it has become clear that Phoenix is not in a position to contend for a championship. One of the major questions heading into Phoenix's rapidly approaching offseason is which teams might make sense for the future Hall of Famer. Mutual interest existed between Durant and 5 teams at the deadline, according to ESPN's Shams Charania, who appeared on the Pat McAfee Show Wednesday: the Miami Heat, New York Knicks, Minnesota Timberwolves, San Antonio Spurs and Houston Rockets. The Heat seemingly had the inside track on Durant at the deadline because, at that time, they still had Jimmy Butler. The Suns had been trying to trade for Butler for months, so, in theory, Miami could have constructed a package built around Butler for Durant. They ultimately elected instead to trade Butler to the Golden State Warriors, seemingly viewing a Durant acquisition as too expensive at the time. That is a concept they could revisit in the offseason. The Knicks were widely linked to Durant in 2019, when he became a free agent and signed with the Brooklyn Nets. An acquisition today would be more complicated, as the Knicks spent the majority of their draft capital landing Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns. They could build a deal around existing players if the Suns want to try to win now, but it's unclear how much New York would be willing to sacrifice from a core that is in the middle of one of the best seasons the Knicks have had this century. The postseason will likely dictate how much interest the Knicks have over the summer. Minnesota is appealing for Durant because of his relationship with Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards. The two were Olympic teammates in Paris last summer, and Edwards grew up idolizing Durant. Minnesota just changed ownership from Glenn Taylor to Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore, and general manager Tim Connolly has an opt-out in his contract, so their interest will likely depend on the opinions of whoever is running the team in June and July. Between Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, and Rob Dillingham, Minnesota has a number of players that might appeal to Phoenix. The Spurs already made one big splash by acquiring De'Aaron Fox at the deadline, but San Antonio has accumulated so many assets in recent years that the front office easily has what it needs to take a swing at Durant. The question for the Spurs is more about timing. They are still one of the NBA's youngest teams, and Victor Wembanyama has been sidelined this season due to a blood clot. How much would the Spurs be willing to sacrifice for what might be a brief window with Durant when those assets could be used to maximize Wembanyama's prime? The Rockets have been attached to both Durant and Devin Booker in the past and, to an extent, they have the power to control these proceedings. And you, fan? What do you think about Kevin Durant's situation? Write to us in the comments.